Today, I'm going to do a lunch and learn about terminal tips and tricks. It's a very impromptu presentation. Today, I'm basically going to cover the ways to create 3 different types of terminal commands in your terminal, how to save them, and how to create a .bash profile. Is anyone here familiar with the terminal and how to create terminal tips and tricks? Anyone here? Okay, cool. So a few. I remember Dean just mentioned aliases, so that's one of the topics I'm going to cover today. Let's see, next one. So why do we use terminal shortcuts? Well, 1, they're faster. 2, less typing. And 3, having to remember being able to avoid having to remember all those commands. Shortcuts can basically be something very short for a very, very long command that spans several commands chained together. I think that's why I like to use terminal shortcuts. I tend to notice the amount of time that I save, and I don't really like using that much time to type all those commands with my fingers. Let's see here. Let's start with section 1, aliases. That's the biggest one that you guys all should know about. Aliases are very simple. They are, quite simply, a shorthand for a command that you type into the terminal. This is an example, terminal shortcut to display Git status. All you do is alias, GS, and then equals Git status. I put some external links for more information. Let's see here. No, I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to keep doing this first. So this is how we create an alias. We want to find and create our .bash profile. To view hidden files and folders, which is what your bash profile would be, you use Command, Shift, and period. I know that's very small dots, but that is a dot. You're supposed to go there. You edit in the editor. You create an alias like GS equals Git status. Am I going too fast? No? Okay, cool. I feel like I'm trying to rush through this. Slow down a little bit. You create an alias using GS equals Git status. Some things to note. I'm going to go into my Atom alias profile right now. Let's see here. So I'm on my own thing of files here. If I use Command Shift period, I get to see all of my hidden files and folders. Right there at the top is one of them, the bash profile. I typically open it in Atom. Another way to do that straight from your terminal is to go into your terminal and type in Atom tilde.bash profile. That will open the same exact file directly in Atom. Let's see, it'll pop up. You'll get to see some of the aliases and some additional commands that I have for my terminal. It's quite a bit. I tend to use aliases and commands for referencing files that I don't want to remember the file names of. If I have to constantly terminal into specific things that we're working on, I tend to save those as aliases. For example, I've got SF right here, just CD SF kiosk client, because I'm too tired of having to type it every time I open the terminal. That's one thing that I use. The adrenaline board, since there's so many different things to directory into, that's another thing that I do. You'll notice that all the aliases are up at the top. You definitely have to follow the guidelines of using, let's see here, alias first, then whatever you want your alias to be. I'll go with GS again. The equals and the quotation marks have to be right next to each other, no spaces. That's very important. And then Git status. There you go. And then no, you don't need anything at the end of it. It's just next line. Another thing to note that I haven't put on the slide is that you can chain your aliases together. So if you have an alias that says Git status, or Git push, if you want to Git push master, and you just create an alias called alias just mass equals. If you see up at the top here, I have something called, where did it go? I can't see. Git push origin. If I wanted to use that alias inside of this alias, I could just go GPO master, and that would push to master. That's a fun thing to do with terminal commands. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to my slides. So that's how you create aliases. Let's see, the next one, exports. This is the second section. What is an export? An export command is one of the bash shell built-in commands, which means it is part of your shell. The export command is fairly simple to use as it is straightforward syntax with only 3 available command options. This is one that Dean might be familiar with. This is including Python in your export path, so you can access it via the terminal. That's really important. Usually it's typically used for including things into your path, definitely for Mac, not so much for Windows, but I think this is primarily a Mac-focused terminal presentation. Creating an export to display a branch name. So it's very similar to creating an alias. It can even handle or hang out in the same area as the aliases and the bash profiles. You can see down here, I have that actual thing set into my path. For a more complicated export, I have in my terminal a way to display the branch name that I'm currently working on in Git. That's this right here. I've also, I think, included a link to how this works. It basically exports for the user the branch name, and it runs it every single time I'm on a specific branch, and this is actually just the color that it shows. You can actually change some of these settings in that if you want more information. For example, I'll use my alias to go to SF Kiosk Client, and you can see right there, let's see if I can blow this up a bit. There we go. Yeah, you can see right there that it shows me the branch name that I'm currently on. So if I use another alias that I have, like Git branch, just GB, it'll show me all the branches that I currently have. If you want to do additional stuff that you might be familiar with actual Git branch, for example, like if I wanted to delete a branch, you might think that the alias doesn't work that way, but it actually does. CSS fix. So I've just used GB, my alias, include with the capital D for deleting a branch, and that works totally fine, just like as if you typed in git branch. That's another reason why I like using these shortcuts, and I like them a lot. That's about it for the exports. You can see if I change to another branch, it'll display that branch name instead of master. So it definitely helps me keep a reference of what branch that I'm currently working on. I think that's hands down my favorite export. There's definitely other ones that you can work with. This one right here kind of loads NVM and stuff into there every single time that I start my terminal. Simple things like that. You can find more information on these things just Googling them. It's that easy. You can find all these commands. They're very helpful. So they definitely have a lot of references and being able to access them very quickly. Cool. So that's about it for exports. And then the last one I have is Git configs. I think these ones are very important too because we all use Git in our development, and being able to cut down the amount of time that is necessary to do the things that you need to do in Git is another way to keep your development quick and streamlined. Git configs are options that you can alter to change the way Git behaves straight from your terminal. For example, you can set Atom as the default text editor for your commit messages. So instead of it opening Vim every time you forget to make a commit message, you can set the Git config for Atom. I think the -- wait is so that once you open the config, or once you open Atom, Git won't continue running until you close the commit message. There's 2 external links for more information. There's a ton of Git configs. I kind of wanted to just gloss over them, kind of just bring them to your attention, and then you can bring in more Git configs as you see fit. So again, very similar to the other 2. The only difference is that you don't save those in the same area that you save the aliases. So you can see that I don't have any Git configs in here. I do have some stuff for bash functions and saving the Git branch. But for example, if I wanted to actually write the Git config stuff like git config -- global config dot editor, and then Atom -- wait. So it should update, and then if I were to, let's see here, no, I don't have anything that I would want to save. Yeah, that would create a Git config so that your editor of choice is the one that opens when you create a commit message. Another good Git config is just git config -- global config.user. You can set like an example user, or your just the default user for your Git config, and your default email, so that you don't have to keep putting it in every time you try to push a branch to GitHub. Yeah, I mean, after that, that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to touch upon when it comes to terminal commands and everything. I wanted to give a special thanks to Spencer for suggesting beautiful.ai, Stack Overflow for making sure my terminal commands were correct, GitHub help for the Git config commands, and everybody watching. So that's it. That's all my lunch and learn is. The end. Cool. Yay.